Welcome to another episode of Live from Jacksonville. I'm your host, Amadeus. I'm here to let you know what's happening live in Jacksonville. I'm talking about concerts, comedians, Broadway shows, anything that's going on that I can find out about. I want to pass it along to you so you don't miss out on all the things that makes Jacksonville great. We have a couple of great interviews coming up. One with Marlon Wayans, who's coming to the Florida Theater in just a week or so. And also Gary Mullen, star of One Night of Queen, also coming to the Florida Theater. That show's on May 6th. But first, let's talk about how busy the St. Augustine Amphitheater is in the month of May. They're kicking things off on May 1st with Pat Benatar and her husband, Neil Giraldo. They put on a great show. Michael Franti and Spearhead will be at the Am St. Augustine on May 15th. Country music singer Dylan Scott on Saturday, May 17th. Rick Springfield's I Want My 80s tour with John Waite, Wang Chung, and John Cafferty, and all four artists are doing full sets. This show starts around 6:30 in the evening, and I think it should be a solid 4 hours. So just so you know, it's going to be a long night, but of great music. And rising country music star Sam Barber will be at the Am St. Augustine on Friday, May 30th. Construction is still going on at the Jaguars Stadium of the Future, and will be for the next couple of years. So things are a little slow around Daly's Place, but they do have Teddy Swims there on Saturday, May 10th. There are just a few seats left for this show at dailysplace.com. Coming up at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, Greg Gutfield from Fox News will be here on Sunday, May 18th. Country singer Tyler Childers on Thursday, May 29th, but that is pretty much a complete sellout. I don't think there's one seat left for that show. The Alhambra Dinner Theater has My Fair Lady kicking off its 6-week run on Thursday, May 15th, alhambrajacks.com for details and tickets. And finally, the Florida Theater has Marlon Wayans this Friday, May 2nd. I'll be chatting with Marlon on the podcast here in just a few minutes. I'll also be chatting with Gary Mullen, star of One Night of Queen. That's coming to the Florida Theater on Tuesday, May 6th. Kenny G will be at the Florida Theater on May 7th. Matt Kearney on Tuesday, May 13th. Brit Floyd's Wish You Were Here 50th Anniversary World Tour is Tuesday, May 20th. And Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons on May 25th. FloridaTheater.com for all of those shows. We spoke with Marlon Wayans way back when he was first kicking off his Good Grief tour, and then that show got canceled because of a hurricane. So the makeup show is this Friday, May 2nd, and I got a chance to reconnect with Marlon just a few days ago. I got to start off by saying I just watched the trailer for him a couple of days ago, and I am so dang excited.
Well, thank you. It's a great, I know what I feel. I know there's a great movie in the can, and I know Justin Tipping, who's the visionary behind this, is going to make sure that this movie is everything. I can't wait for people to see it. I think it's going to be twisted, dark, crazy, scary, great acting, and a little humor.
It looks like all those things you said, and I know that Jordan's movies, kind of like M. Night, they always seem to have a little twist, and there's nothing you can tell me, is there?
No, unfortunately, you trying to get free stuff, you got to pay just like everybody else. I can't give you that. I haven't even seen it yet.
Well, thank goodness I'm an AMC Stubbs Plus member, so I will definitely be checking that out and reviewing it on the radio.
Oh, beautiful. Go on. Look at you flossing. I'm an AMC Stubbs. Go on, man.
Hey, you know what? I'm already up to 35 movies this year, and my goal to see 100.
Wow. I'm not at one yet. I'm about to go see The Sinners tonight.
You know what's funny? When you said I'm not at one yet, I was going to say you have to see Sinners. I'm going to see that for a second time this weekend, and I rarely see anything twice. That is the best movie of the year so far.
I'm going to go check it out. I'm very proud of those brothers, and so I want to make sure I go support.
Yeah, man. It's Coogler and Michael B., man. I'm telling you something. This movie, to me, could win Best Picture of the Year. Well, I haven't seen him yet, but as of right now.
It'd be great if both of them was nominated. That, to me, is a win.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also saw that a new Scary Movie's on the way.
Yeah, we're going to be filming that this summer, getting the script together right now. We plan on bringing the world a nice, big, juicy comedy next summer.
Man, so looking forward to that. I love that franchise.
It's going to be great to put that Wayans flavor back on it.
How is it back being on the road with your comedy?
I love it. I think it keeps you sharp. You just staying on a stage and always thinking funny. And, I think it helps me when I go right with everybody. I just know where their jokes are. It's always about continuously challenging myself as a writer and as a comedian to bring people laughs. And I love it.
I know you talk to a lot of radio stations and do a lot of PR in your life. You don't remember this specifically, but the last time we talked, I had just seen you on the Kelly Clarkson show talking about getting ready, and your mom had passed and then your dad had passed, and how that touched me and how it touches you in writing your comedy.
I write from a place of pain, and then I bring the humor. I feel like that's healing for everybody. If I could talk about the things that hurt me, you'd be surprised how many people can identify with that. Good Grief is probably my best special. That's when I found myself to be a real live comedian, when I started talking about tragic stuff and going, here's what's funny about it. And then instead of putting the magnifying glass on the world, I put the mirror on myself and really started to explore my own feelings. And I think that's when my humor got more relatable.
I'm with you, and a lot of us in radio, especially in the building I work in, are the same way. We recently had a morning show host that had been here for 30 years past, and we went on the air and just told great, funny stories about him, and it was a great way for us all to heal together.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's what people, after my show, people hug me and they tell me, thank you so much for what you've given me, and thank you for that. I needed that laugh. I lost my parents too, or whatever, and it feels good. And I like talking about things that, I don't care if it's breakup, I don't care if it's like divorce, I don't care, whatever it is, I think you got to find humor in the tragedy because that's life. That's
a real talent too, and I, as someone who loves comedy, really appreciate what you do. It's a gift.
Thank you, brother.
Marlon Wayans.
That's the only way I can find funny in horror movies. The twisted humor and argument. You sit there and go, it's funny about this person that got their head cut off. It's like, what?
That's true. All right, Marlon Wayans, the Wild Child Tour hits the Florida Theater on Friday, May 2nd. There's some select seats still available at floridatheater.com. I know you have other radio stations to chat with. I so appreciate your time. I cannot wait to see you live. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Oh, thank you, man. Well, come backstage and say what's up when you're there.
I'd love to, man. I'll look forward to meeting you.
Thank you. Peace. I'm there.
There are a few seats left for Marlon Wayans this Friday at the Florida Theater, and next Tuesday at the Florida Theater, One Night of Queen, performed by Gary Mullen and the Works. Here's a little bit of the chat I had with Gary about the show.
Right now, I am in Seabrook, New Hampshire, near Hampton Beach, where we have a show tomorrow night.
Oh, very cool. How's the weather up there?
Cloudy. It's potentially may rain, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it doesn't, because we've had some sun the last couple of days because we've been up in like Maine and stuff, but the weather on the tour so far has been terrible, so we're just praying for some sunshine.
Let me tell you something. When you get to Jacksonville, Florida, your prayers are going to come true.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know every time we hit Florida, the sunshine's great, and we try and work on our tans before we go home,
So we're super excited to have you here. I know you've been here before, but I personally haven't seen the show yet, so I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
I'm a big fan of tribute shows, especially for artists that are no longer with us, like Freddie Mercury. Yeah. And of all the videos I've seen, it looks like you nail this.
Well, I enjoy it. I'm a big fan, and if you're going to do a tribute, you've got to do it right. You've got to do it with, full commitment and be true to the music and true to the energy of the band. You can't just walk out on the stage and kind of like go, hello, and play the songs. You got to really sell it. You really got to give the energy, because that's what Queen and Freddie were all about.
Yeah, I saw Queen with Adam Lambert. That was the only time I've seen the band live. And there's so many iconic and amazing songs that you're just sitting there in awe of this band.
That's the thing. We get people coming to the show and they go, oh my God, I forgot that was a Queen song. And it's like, they're so, I suppose now, stitched in the fabric of just day-to-day life. You turn on a commercial and there's a high chance you're going to hear a Queen song in the background, or you go to a sporting event, you hear We Will Rock You, you hear We're the Champions, You turn on a radio station, you're guaranteed to hear at least one Queen song, in the first couple of hours that you're listening. So it's just, the songs are just there. They're just fantastic.
Yeah, their music is so amazing, and I love how many other people they influence. Like, there's a country artist named Dwight Yoakam you probably know of, and he covered Crazy Little Thing Called Love, and you don't think about that as a country song, but when you hear it played that way, you see really how diverse Brian May and Freddie Mercury were.
Yeah, I mean, it was the great thing about Queen was, and this is unusual for a band, because usually it's like, Lennon and McCartney or Plant and Page. You've usually got maybe two songwriters in a band. All the guys in Queen wrote a top 20 hit. So you had the full and very schizophrenic, you'd have like a vaudeville kind of almost music hall number 1 minute, and then like a heavy metal riff like Stone Cold Crazy the next, and then Bohemian Rhapsody, this crazy operatic song. So they've just brought so much. There's such a wide palette, for Queen music. And when people say to me, which songs, which albums shall I listen to? Well, I put them onto things like Night at the Opera or Queen 2, which is just Queen at their most schizophrenic. It's like, what is that? People hear the hits, but there's so much more than it. They were a great album band as well. There was some incredible pieces of music that are on the deep cuts that people maybe have never heard. So we try and incorporate little snippets of things like that in the show as well. So that when the diehard fans come, they go, "Oh my God, we heard I'm in Love with My Car," or whatever bits of Liar from the first album. We try and throw little segments in medleys to give people the whole breadth of their back catalogue.
Yeah, I was in high school when The Game came out, and that became the album that was the soundtrack of my life at that time.
Yeah.
And anytime I hear any cut from that album, I go straight back to those years in high school and can remember like what I was driving and where I was going and everything.
Yeah. We get first generation Queen fans coming along and they bring their kids now, and then sometimes it's grandkids. So you've got like a whole family of like Queen T-shirts, but they in descending age, sort of grand and granddad down to these little kids. But they know the songs as well as the gran and granddad, who are first generation fans. And we get that since the movie came out in 2018. We've got a real sort of influx of younger guys and girls coming to the show and wanting to be part of that live experience because maybe their grandparents or their parents saw Queen back in the heyday and were like, hey, let's go watch this band and enjoy the music live.
Yeah, and that's what's great about tribute shows or bands that tour as artists is that the music is what you're really there for, and seeing that respect and honoring of the music is really what it's all about, and re-experiencing that music with a whole new band with that energy.
Yeah, it's a moment where people talk about going to like football games or going to baseball games, and there's a vibe, but there's always an us against them kind of mentality. Whereas at a concert, it's everyone's there for one single reason, and that's to have a great time and be immersed in the music and the show. And that's where music is. Music really does. It's magical, and people think I'm crazy when I say this, or very kind of hippie, that it does. It gets into people's souls. Like you said there, you remember the game. Driving your car, you pass your test, you're in the car, you put the cassette in, you're transported back to that moment, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring people back to a moment in time you'll never see again, which is Queen with Freddie, and also the new generation of fans, give them a taste of what it would have been like to come to a Queen concert and have that, the lights and the costumes and the sound and the smoke and everything, and get them immersed in that.
Gosh, just talking to you, I'm getting so excited for the performance.
Well, we've played Jacksonville a lot over the years, and it's a cool venue, and you guys in Florida get rock and roll. Some cities, the bigger cities, they can be a bit more sort of like New York. We've got Broadway entertainers. London, we've got the West End. So they're kind of spoiled for multiple theatres and multiple shows. When you go to somewhere like, and I know the Leonard Skinner connection with Jacksonville as well, so it's nice to go somewhere where rock and roll is actually a thing, and the audience from the get-go, they're invested in the show. The lights go down, the cheer goes up, and then it's just 2 hours of fun. Speaking
of which, do you have any particular songs that you really enjoy performing, or are they all the same for you?
No, I mean, again, with yourself, there's different songs and still different memories in me, But also the audience thing, like Somebody to Love is quite an early on song in the show. Because there's only 5 of us on stage and the song's got 60 vocals, we say to the audience, right, you guys can be the choir.
Oh.
We're going to make you sing like Aretha Franklin or the gospel. You're going to be part of this song. And we encourage the audience to really start singing along with us. And that kind of breaks the kind of theatre fourth wall or the concert fourth wall. It's not like, sit there and listen to us perform the art. You guys are part of it. Sing along. And that's a great one. And another highlight's Fat Bottom Girls. It's the only time that a guy can point to his wife's backside and say, hey man, she's got a big butt, and not get punched in the face. Because any other time a guy says that to his wife, he's getting basically a knuckle sandwich. Whereas it's like, yeah, baby, I got a big butt. And it makes me laugh because you're like, at no other time in life would you be able to say that about your wife or your girlfriend and not get a punch. So it's quite funny. And that's, again, a big moment in the show where people just go crazy. And it's fun because you feed off that energy,
That's so funny. Do you do Under Pressure? Do you have a David Bowie in the band?
No, we don't. We just kind of do. Well, John, the drummer, does the kind of bits that Roger would do to kind of compensate the Bowie thing when we're doing it live. But it's me singing the whole song as Freddie would live, and then John's doing the backing vocal stuff, while I'm singing it, which is a tough order for him, because the drum fills in the middle are pretty intense. He's breathing heavily anyway, and I'm like, you sing along with me, no problem. So he just doubles me up and does the kind of Bowie bits as well. But it's more the live thing. I have done it. I've got a Bowie friend in the UK that I've brought on stage with me a couple of times, and we've done it as a duet. But it's predominantly like Queen would do it, just me as Freddie, and John does the backing vocals.
That's awesome. Gary, I could talk to you for an hour. I'm having so much fun. I know you got a lot of things to do. Quickly before I let you go, I was curious, did you get to see Queen live?
I never saw them with Freddie. I saw them with Paul Rodgers in 2008, and I saw them with Adam. I was 13 when they did the final tour in Europe, the Magic Tour, and my buddy and I were doing newspaper deliveries and all sorts of stuff to get the money together for tickets. And again, back to this generation, they're very spoiled, because if you want to buy a ticket, you go on Ticketmaster, you go on, Live Nation, and you go on there and you log on. Whereas back in the old days, as you know, you either went to your local record store, and if they didn't have any tickets, you had to call a number or write away for tickets. So by the time we got all the money together, the tour was sold out. So we had to sit and watch the Wembley concert on TV. And what we did was we took my ghetto blaster and put it behind us so that it felt like we were at the concert while watching it on the TV, So I never got to see them live. So it's my biggest regret, is that we got the money and it was sold out. We couldn't go.
I have been really blessed to see most of the bands that I wanted to see live. One of them I have not seen yet is Paul McCartney. And just last week at the Florida Theater, there was a Paul McCartney tribute band that I went to and had that experience. So I had so much fun. Like you, I never got to see Freddie live. I did see them with Adam, which was amazing. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen Freddie. For sure.
Well, let's say it's my biggest regret. I mean, let's say I met Brian. I went backstage after that show and met Brian. He was great. He's the most humble rock god you'll ever meet, which blew me away. He's like thanking me, thank you for coming to the show, and I'm just like, you're Brian May. You're a rock star physicist. You know what I mean? It's like you're now a sir, a knight of the realm, and you're thanking me for the show. It was so cool.
That is amazing. All right, we're talking with Gary Mullen. One Night of Queen will be at the Florida Theater on Tuesday, May 6th. FloridaTheater.com for all the information and to purchase your tickets. Gosh, I'm so glad. I know this was very last minute, but I really appreciate your time. I really wanted to have you on the podcast on this episode before the concert hits Jacksonville.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and you got me on a day off, which is great, because, I'm just kind of like, I usually go out a walk, or I go to the gym, or I just kind of hang out, so, and it's nice to just be able to chat to someone. Some interviews can be a bit kind of like, blah, 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 thank you. But this has just been like two guys sitting in a bar having a chat, which is fantastic.
I appreciate that. That's what I want. I just started the podcast a few weeks ago, because there's so many shows that come to Jacksonville, and so many people don't know, and I want to have a platform for them to go to and go, oh, that's coming. I want to go to that.
Well, I say you guys are a cool rock and roll town. Like, Jacksonville's been on our tour schedule pretty much since we started in 2008. So we've played that theatre a lot, and we always have a great night. We have a great night, and hopefully everyone that comes to the show has as much fun as we do when we're on stage.
Well, you know what? When you come here, we're going to rock you.
That sounds like a good night then.
Gary, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you down in the Sunshine State soon.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
And that's going to wrap up this episode. As you can see, we've got a pretty busy May. I'll drop another episode in a week or so with any new announcements, and just to keep you abreast of what's happening live from Jacksonville.